Laura, is that good? Laura?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
Good to go.
excellent. Awesome. All right, so let's get started. Hello, everybody here and in virtual land. Hopefully you can let me know if you have trouble hearing me with my mask. I never know for modulation's sake whether it's good or not, but we'll get there. So this particular workshop is because you all are our first class who are under the new general education program requirements. And we are trying to get a lot better about talking to you. I know it seems very odd to actually talk to people about the requirements and about why you have to take these courses and why are we doing this here at Fitchburg State. So hopefully by the time we get through this workshop, you'll have a much better sense of what's going on. In fact, there's a very good chance you'll have a much better sense than your advisor will when you go in and talk to your advisor, because this is all new this year. So you may have the edge whenever you walk into your advising appointments now. So hopefully everybody will learn something out of this. So all of you who are first year students are in the first year experience, the FYE course. And this is the first time all of our students are taking this first year experience course. And it's the first time that it's part of our general education requirements here at Fitchburg State. So you've been doing this for a month-ish, somewhere around there. And this is both for people in person and online. What are you learning out of that course that might correspond to these two images right here, these two icons? Do these ring any bells as to what you might be focusing on in the first year experience? Any thoughts?
Reading.
Reading. Excellent. The one on the right is definitely reading. What about the one on the left?
Information.
Information literacy. I don't know who that was, but they get a gold star. So what we have here, first of all, you're going to start seeing these little images around in a lot of different places. These are our general education icons, but these two are for information literacy and for reading, which is where you are starting with your first year experience. Now, what I really want to focus on here is that each time we ask you to take a course, there's something that we want you to learn out of it, okay? There's something that we want you to get out of it. There's a lot of reasons for taking the first year experience, and there's a lot of things that you'll be getting out of it and hopefully already have gotten out of it. But as far as your general education, in particular, what we want is to enhance your reading skills and enhance your information literacy skills, okay? And the fact that somebody was able to answer that from those images makes me very happy that this is already getting across to you, okay? So this is a couple of things, just a visual to keep in mind. Hopefully you maybe even saw these on your syllabi that some of your instructors are starting to use. This graphic is in the pamphlet that I handed out in person for online people. This is the graphic that's on the inside of the pamphlet. And this is what we hope to kind of give you an idea, just in one image, what you're going to be doing here at Fitchburg State, which is a lot because there's a lot on this graphic, right? And we didn't actually get everything onto the graphic. So there's a lot going on in terms of your general education program. And you'll see that we started, you'll start it in the foundation area, which is the upper right. And that's your lifelong learning courses, which the first year experience is a part of, okay? And this is the beginning of your journey with general education here. You'll notice that the courses you're taking are on the inside, and the reason that you're taking those courses are on the outside in the green. So the reading and information literacy, you'll see there, and we'll talk about why for the other courses. On the left of this image is kind of what we promise you if you work hard here at Fitchburg State. This is what you'll come out being as a graduate of Fitchburg State. creative and critical thinkers who integrate and communicate, learning from a variety of disciplines and experiences. And this is the real key, or at least for me, it's the real key, in ways that enhance civic, personal, and professional lives. And you'll notice at the bottom of the circle, there's the you, the student, the person, the professional. And we've never really done a great job of talking about how all of these work together. The general education so you're taking a major, and that's a lot about your professional life or what your professional life is going to be after Fitchburg State. But there's a lot more pieces of you and a lot more parts of your world. And particularly the student while you're here, and a lifelong student, because you just don't stop learning once you graduate from Fitchburg State, and the person, okay? And that's what we really want to talk about today, how all of these pieces fit together. So I'm going to go through what I call the boring part first, which is all the check boxes, the requirements that you need to take. Already, most of you should be taking the first year experience, which is that reading and information literacy piece. And you should be taking writing 1. And I know some of you are because you're in my writing 1. So, and that piece is, believe it or not, you're supposed to learn writing in writing 1. Okay. You may also be taking your quantitative reasoning, your math requirements. You may also be taking your world languages speaking and listening requirements this semester. If not, you'll be taking those next semester along with writing 2. And writing 2 it is a bit of a catch because it's not just writing. We're continuing your information literacy from the FYE. Okay, so that's how these 5 courses fit together in your first year. Most of you will be taking all of these in your first year. Questions? Online or in person? Okay. The second part of your general education curriculum is the 9 requirements. And this is the list of those 9 requirements: civic learning, diverse perspectives, ethical reasoning, fine arts expression and analysis, historical inquiry and analysis, literary inquiry and analysis, personal wellness, procedural and logical thinking, scientific inquiry and analysis. Okay, so these are 9 courses that you will need to take. And we're going to talk about these in a little bit, so I'm not going to go too in depth on each of these right now. Also, while you're taking these 9 courses, each one of them, the instructors have chosen 1 or 2 skills, especially the skills that you were learning in your foundation year: reading, writing, quantitative reasoning, information literacy, world languages speaking and listening, as well as some others. And they're going to be developing those in these courses. Okay, so you're going to be able to go from your foundation year to even develop those further as you're working on these 9 requirements. Okay. By the way, the other 3 are creative thinking, critical thinking, and digital literacy. Will also be developed in these courses. Any questions about the exploration section? So we had the foundation and we had the exploration. The third one is called integration. And in this section, you'll take 9 credits minimum, 3 courses. These are going to be what we call integrative learning courses, or AIA courses is the code for them. And these courses are going to bring all of those ideas so that you're using different parts that you've already learned and bringing them together to use them together. Okay? And then you also need to take one of those 3 courses, has to be a high impact practice. And this is not a definition of Fitchburg State. This is a national definition based upon research. This includes things like study abroad, internships, research projects, creative projects, writing intensive courses. There's all kinds of different types of them that you can choose from to take. Okay. Now, what's really interesting about this, and the students in my class will have already heard me talk about this a little bit this morning, is that for this section, you could decide to take a minor. I don't know how many of you know what a minor is. I know we didn't really know this morning in definition whenever my class was talking about it. But a minor is a kind of like a mini major, where you decide on a kind of a secondary topic or field of study that you want to focus on. This will be about 15 to 18 credits. and in a specific topic. We have ones that are kind of very major specific, like very discipline specific, like you could take a literature minor. Or you can take ones that are very interdisciplinary. My students were talking about the disability studies minor early today in class, which is around a topic where you take it from different programs around campus. So if you take a minor, it counts for this section. And then any courses that also have those foundation or exploration designations can also be used for that. So there'll be some minors, excuse me, there'll be some minors that you could take that aren't going to be any extra courses than you would take for your general education, and you actually get a minor on your transcript as well. So this is possibly a good idea to talk about with your advisors. Any questions about the integration section? There's one little complicated catch to this. Pardon me, been talking too much today. We have something what's called you may hear them called MAJ courses. Certain majors on campus have asked that certain of their courses be double dipped with general education. The reason for this is they may have a really big major that has a lot of requirements, and so they're trying to give students some flexibility. And so up to 3 courses might be, definitely every major is different and you need to talk to your advisor, might be double dipped with your major. So there may be some of those requirements that I just talked about that you'll fulfill through your major. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody online? Does that make sense? That's a little more of a complicated concept sometimes. So now we get into the stuff I really prefer to talk about as opposed to just the requirements. Those are the things you need to know. This is the stuff that's actually why we're doing what we're doing. And I did promise, why do I have to take this course is the title of this workshop. And we're going to talk about this from the perspective of thinking about 2020 to 2021. I don't think I need to tell you that a lot has happened in 2020 to 2021, right? Just in case you forgot, I'm not sure how you could have, but in case you forgot, we've had COVID and a worldwide pandemic, Black Lives Matter, climate crises, an election, economic instability, and that ... is everything else that's also going on during these couple of years. What I was going to ask you to do, I'm going to show you a series of icons. I'm not going to make you guess what the icons are. I will tell you what they are. And I'm going to give you some time to either think about on your own or think about with a partner or a group. And those online are going to be working with Dr. Garofoli on a Jamboard about how general education, all those requirements that I just went through and the things that we want you to learn out of them, how that helps us understand, survive, and learn from 2020, 2021. All right, how has it helped us understand and survive it? And then how do we improve the future world by learning, by education in these particular areas? Okay, so I'm going to show you the first set, which is our foundation ones, and you might notice the information literacy and reading ones on here again, but also the world languages, speaking and listening, quantitative reasoning and writing. And I'm going to give you a few minutes. Again, for those who are here in person, you can join up if you like to think about this and talk about it, or you can think about it on your own. I'm going to give you a few minutes. How these 5 in particular, the different ones, help us understand, survive, and learn from everything that's happened in 2020, 2021. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes. So again, you can decide to think on your own or join up. And Dr. Garofoli, it's all yours online.
Dr. Tracy, do you want to mute us so that we can converse? How would you like to?
Nope, I'd like you to, because we don't have enough people here that you are not going to bother anybody. So I'm going to leave you on.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so everybody, I have a link to the Jamboard in the meeting chat, and you can open that up. And so the very first frame we've already gone through. It's the second frame that you'll want to land on. And these are the icons for our foundational portion of the curriculum. So like Dr. Tracy said, this is what we should be focusing on in terms of how have these skills supported us in surviving 2020 and 2021 thus far. And feel free to unmute and chat. You can type in the chat if you don't feel like talking. Anyone have any thoughts? Quantitative reasoning, discerning all of the COVID data. Yes, absolutely, Dr. Krell. So certainly our ability to reason about statistics and math and numbers. Absolutely. Anyone else?
Chinese, a little bit of Mandarin, but it's that and writing is what I find more important.
Yes, being able to be
Just I
discerning the content that you are reading.
like writing stories for different projects that I kind of want to work on.
Any other pieces here?
Wasn't made clear on comm student.
That are listening, speaking world languages,
Be able to kind of
reading, information literacy.
Thinking at something and being able to be like, okay, this is what would make sense.
I love that.
And listening to other people deal with COVID. Yes, they're taking their shots. Absolutely, right? Being able to convey, your intentions, your reasonings. Certainly, maybe make an argument to people you love about why you are or are not making the choices you're making. Absolutely. Anybody want to take a stab at world languages, writing, literacy, skills that have helped us survive this year?
Even with it's the statistics and being able to understand sense statistics of what that actually means and be able to put that into perspective, the importance of what those mean.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm behind you.
What is information literacy? Does anybody know? Throw it out there. Literacy, obtaining the right information about COVID and knowing about vaccines, right? So, and being able to make judgments about whether information is reliable or not. Reliable information is so necessary for all of life, but especially when we're dealing with a worldwide pandemic, right?
The warning, but it links with quantitative reasoning.
What else?
Yeah.
Has writing helped anyone survive the last 18, 24 months?
It's really interesting to me whenever I have this discussion, how these are interconnected. We don't often think about them. We think about them as separate requirements sometimes. You have to do writing, we have to do this. But they're really all related, right? Like writing plays into quantitative reasoning as well. But those abilities play together and how they work. And then you have information literacy and quantitative reasoning, which also plays together.
Honey, I'm waiting for you, but I'm also eavesdropping on the.
I didn't know if you could hear me or not.
Who, us online?
No, I didn't know if you could hear us.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit, little tidbits. I just heard your piece about writing and quantitative reasoning being related, and I could not agree more, right?
I know, and I talked to a lot of the math professors about this, and one of the things that really is a thread among all 5 of these in the foundation area is that they're about communication.
Communication, exactly.
Right? We don't often, I'll admit, I didn't actually put quantitative reasoning into communication for a while until speaking with my colleagues about quantitative reasoning, but it is about communication, right? It's about how we communicate data, how we communicate. I mean, even if I think about a COVID dashboard, how we're communicating that through numbers, through this type of information is very important. Excellent. Are we ready to move to the next one?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Here's the next set. So I'll give everybody a few minutes. I did put a definition of procedural and logical thinking because sometimes that one's a little, what we mean by that is a little bit harder, but I just put that there in case you need it.
So everybody take a moment to think about these 5 from the exploration area of the curriculum. And it's the same prompt. How have these skills and thinking skills helped us to survive 2020, 2021, and beyond? Feel free to unmute, or you can just type in the chat. Totally fine. So Skylar, I see you hopping back in. So right now, the frame that we're on, we are discussing how these 5 skills within the exploration area of our curriculum are thinking areas that we need to develop to help us survive the world. And so we're talking about how they have helped us survive 2020, 2021. So anyone who has thoughts, by all means, type them in the chat or feel free to unmute.
Civil rights movements that have been happening in the past year, they all kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
So having ethical reason, having perspectives and whatnot, that's all kind of intertwined into itself. And
You keep dropping and listening.
all,
I mean, still important explanation. Yeah, and even now, right, Valerie? So, you know, life isn't back to normal yet, so it's important. Yep, taking care of personal wellness. I'm so glad to see one person focusing on that. Isolation from COVID, stress from COVID. The world is not back to normal. Physical and mental health, personal wellness, absolutely. What else?
Which one were you getting trouble with?
Oh, personal wellness, because I said I'm not very personally well. But so I'm getting there, but we're just not there yet. So
But that's the whole point, right? We're trying to be better. Okay.
yeah, I got a couple months.
The thing about personal wellness, and I'll give you a little bit of history behind this, is we've actually expanded it beyond. It used to just be health and fitness, which is the only way to do that particular part of the curriculum. With personal wellness, we're trying to expand it into mental health, into nutrition, into other aspects of personal wellness. Are pretty important right now. I don't know if
Voting, civic learning, right? Watching what happened at the Capitol building, all of the voting legislation that's out there, absolutely. Ethical reasoning, how to treat people who don't comply. Yep.
Patterns and like
Absolutely. And that involves diverse perspectives too, right, Alex? Because everyone has different reasons.
So, Dr. Tracy, I'm thinking about
and just being able to have tolerant conversations, civil, tolerant conversations.
And how
very, very good.
facets of both these first 2, the foundation and exploration, all coalesce in a single kind of decision. So I'm thinking about, so a lot of those events are things that we historically would see things like protests.
Yep.
But making the decision to attend a protest during this time, given issues of Black Lives Matter with the pandemic, it involves all those things. If you back to the last slide, like being aware, using the information available to make a critical decision about whether to even attend an event like that. What are the safety precautions? How are you rationalizing that decision, which will go into the logical thing?
I think that's perfect.
Civic learning, being like, what's your rationale for even attending in the first place?
Yeah.
What's your civic duty as it pertains to that? So I'm just thinking about how even making a decision like that roots in all of these different.
Dr. Garofoli, did you happen to hear that? Jason had a really good point.
I did, and that is an outstanding example of how these 5 could be built upon at the same time with the same concept.
I mean, and even as you said, the foundation ones also fit into this, right? The writing that you are reading to be able to decide whether you're going, well, what is the rhetoric around that particular event? How are you talking about that particular event? The oral speeches that are being given, that are being talked about there, the world languages, the different people who are involved in creating these events, information literacy, which one do I go to? Like, which one is legit? Which one is not? I mean, so yeah, Jason, that's a really, really excellent point. Are we ready for the next set?
Yes, ma'am.
This is your next set.
All right, everybody. So again, it's the same prompt, right? How do these things help us survive? How have they helped us to survive 2020, 2021, and beyond? Is anyone in the online group particularly interested in one of these areas where they accessed it and used it to help them throughout the last year and a half?
What I thought of it is like throughout these 2 years, a way of like self-care.
Right. That's a good one. My thing with fine arts is I like to read
Questions, your feelings through art? Yes, making political artworks, activism through art. Absolutely, Valerie. Absolutely. And some of the artistic expressions for helping people to deal with grief, the grief that resulted from the absolute madness that was 2020 in so many ways. And I think too about the historical components of everything that we've been through, being able to rethink historically significant events in light of modern events. And certainly science, right? Science has played a huge role in the last year and a half. Anybody want to take a stab at other things here?
It's still kind of happening. They're doing it well.
If we gained anything out of the last couple of years, we gained access to confidence to be online. Which I hope, without literary.
Anyone have something good for the literary inquiry and analysis?
We have to like run a ton more stuff than we usually do. So
Yeah.
This could also be art.
More time and so many more important things that we do need to think about. That we've just been really like analyzing every single thing.
I think
so heavily.
To really connect it to something, this past election and trying to kind of figure out in a like logical sense what is the right direction to go. You really had to kind of read into what issues the country was facing, so this past election in particular being one that was really, pushed and pressured on people to go out and vote this year. It was something where we all kind of had to ask ourselves, what does the country need? And to
history is a reference for how people dealt with previous viruses. Absolutely.
I go into literary.
Absolutely.
People are reading so much because it's like they don't know what to believe, what to trust. So there's so much.
And interesting too. One of my son's favorite book series. I have a 12-year-old. And the Maze Runner series, home, and James Dasher released a novella about one of the characters, maybe his favorite character. And in the beginning, he talks about the use of literature as a means for trying to process a bit about something like a pandemic. And it was fascinating, and it sort of makes me think of I'd love to be able to sit down and have a conversation about how he used it to fuel his writing
I mean,
that
it's
novella.
quite literally made.
Yes, quite literally made, and also
Anything
how
else
literally made.
from the exploration category?
I mean, there was a lot of the 1918 Spanish flu discussions about what happened there.
Scientific inquiry, all the research, right? And many of the different components. There's new science all the time, right? And even the different vaccines, you get boosters, and who does it work for and who is it not working for, who's still at risk, what changes with viral load and transmission. Absolutely. And it's interesting because we're going to be looking at this for many years, right? Long COVID and, all of the analyses that are, required to try to figure that out. The multi-system condition that children are susceptible to as a result of it. So yeah, absolutely.
We decided that all these are important. Did you decide all of these are important?
Yes.
Good.
That means everything in the general education is important.
Exactly. That's the point that we want to get across and why, right? The last one. So I did already talk about integrative learning, but there is a bit of a definition there, and there's a bit of a definition for the high impact practice. So take a couple of minutes for this.
And not so slangy.
Does anyone online have any questions about what integrative learning or integrative high impact practice means? I'm hoping these make sense to everyone. But if they don't, raise a hand or pop something in the chat.
This is the last part of your general education experience. What does this mean for us? This is more abstract. In one way, it's a lot like what Jason was talking about and what we're talking about up here, integrative being using all of the things that we talked about at the same time, right? And pulling them together to be able to make a decision or solve problems or do whatever it is that you're doing. Right? Being able to pull all of that. So there's a lot here where you're basically showing now in these particular courses how you're doing all of that and how that works. Right? And then high impact practice.
What I was saying is you tend to, you need that kind of like hands-on aspect. You need to kind of go out and do what it is that you want to do. Because it's important to learn the aspects of it, but until you go out and make it happen, it's not really. There's no better way to get it done.
I mean, one of the pieces of this is you could do community engagement, where you actually go out into the community and apply all of these things for the betterment of the world, right? But study abroad is also a different way to learn your horizons. That's very overreach, but you get my point. But this idea that, I like that, hands-on, right? The experiential, the experience of actually doing something. So all of you will be done that.
I'm hoping everybody online heard that.
What did you guys decide about these two?
We did not have any takers to discuss either of these two.
Yeah.
We spent a decent amount of time eavesdropping on the people physically present as well.
Fair enough. Well, again, we decided that this is the really the experiential part to really get, use what it is that you've learned in the other parts of the curriculum. that we decided was really important here, especially in terms of thinking like community activism, right? Going out into the community and doing things, seeing the world, having an internship that will lead to your job experiences later, those sorts of things. All right. I highly encourage you to take a photo of this or screenshot it if you are online. I've broken down what I would like to see everybody do before you talk to your advisor. It's really important that you, again, look at the requirements for the general education program. We've gone through them all here, but I can't imagine you'll remember all of that. So going back and familiarizing yourself with that. But your major as well, going into the catalog and the four-year plans. I've given you a link here to the four-year plans, but I've also told you how to do it, which is if you search on the website for four-year plans of study by major, it will pull up that link. And then you're going to click on the general education section because we have two different sets because you're new. You have a new set of requirements. And select your major. This will help you just figure out what it is that you're going to be taking in your major and what you need to take. After you've looked those up, think about what courses you might want to take. Look at the seats list. I've given you a link to the seats list and course schedules here if you don't know how to get there already, and given you a map of how to get there. And think about what it is you want to take. And then I want you to prepare your thoughts, not just about the courses in the spring, because this is a good opportunity here at the beginning of your career to make some decisions. Because the later you get in your career, the more you have to take what's available, okay? So if you can start making decisions or start thinking about these things a little bit early, you can start making those decisions and seeing what courses are going to fit into it. So, and share that with your advisor during your first advising meeting. Talk to them about this. As I said, you may know more about the general education program than your advisor does. If you're one of the ones here, I gave you the pamphlet. Take the pamphlet with you and be able to take a look at it along those lines. So as you see here again, the general education program, this is how you find it. You can get, there's lots of information there if you need some help. The four-year plans of study, that will help you with both your gen ed and your major, figuring out what those are. Seats list, very important to see what's going to be coming up in the spring. And if you have questions, there's two ways to ask them. There's the general education email, or you can email me directly. And those of you who are my students, you know how to get a hold of me. So either way, if you come up with a gen ed, if your advisor comes up with a gen ed question, you either can ask me or have your advisor email me as well. Did everybody take a picture and a screenshot? If that's everybody online, take a screenshot or a photo.
And Dr. Tracy, if I could just interject one little thing.
Absolutely.
And especially students in my FYEs will know this because I have beaten this to death, but this is not an individual sport. Talk about this with your other first year peers. Being an FYE, you're probably exposed to the think aloud method already. So, do think alouds on this stuff and share with your peers, because if you have questions, other people do too. And maybe other people have figured things out or you figured things out, and you can help one another. And it really, don't try to go this alone all the time. Okay.
I would add to that, Dr. Tracy.
Yes.
Especially for our students in FYE, your peer mentors are a really great source of learning about the advising process, while also remembering that they are familiar with the LANS. So while they've been trained on the general education, their own experiences are with the whole curriculum, but definitely talk with your peer mentors about the advising process, tips, how to approach the advising meeting, those sorts of things.
Your peer mentors are invaluable. It's a new resource here at Fitchburg State, and definitely take advantage of it the best you can. One more thing that I wanted to throw in here is just a bonus slide, which is how to read a four-year plan. So I sent you to the four-year plans, but I don't know how familiar you are with looking at a four-year plan. I only gave you half of one here. This is only the freshman and sophomore, and I picked literature because that's the one that I'm the most familiar with. But what you'll see here is there's freshman year on the left-hand side, sophomore year on the right. It's broken up by fall and spring semesters. So you're in the fall semester freshman year. So again, you should be taking FYE, writing 1, maybe your math, maybe your speaking and listening. And this is what your 4-year plans will look like. These are suggested, okay? So if you don't end up taking something right when it's said on your 4-year plan, sometimes they can be switched out and that sort of thing. But these are how the people who are the faculty who are in your major, the best way for you to progress through the major, okay? So for example here, when you go and talk to your advisor, you're going to be talking about that spring semester, the lower left-hand corner of your freshman year in particular. So that's the first thing to look at as to what kinds of courses you should be taking in your spring semester. Okay, so when you're looking at the seats list, when you're looking at courses that you think you should be taking, you want to look at that semester and see what courses are recommended for that time period. Okay, does that make sense to everybody of how to read this? And again, they would then have the junior and senior year on the bottom, but if I put it all up there, you wouldn't be able to read it. So. Any questions online or anything about the 4-year plan?
I think one question that I have gotten from students before is, what do the X's mean on a plan of study? And it's simply just, an indication that, so if you look at that spring semester freshman year, ENGL 2XXX, that would be a 2000 level class. So any English 2000 that, fits your schedule and that your advisor works with you. As long as it's an American literature survey, that will work. So when you see X's, it simply means that there are multiple courses that could fulfill that.
Excellent. Any other questions? Yes.
So I don't know if this is a question that can be answered here, but when it comes to certain classes that you choose to take, is there possibilities that they may not end up running because of low enrollment and stuff like that?
The answer is yes. There is a possibility that you could enroll for a course, and then that course doesn't actually run because we usually it takes about 10 students to run a course. There's some exceptions to that, but there is a chance that certain courses might not run as a result of enrollments. So it's an unfortunate byproduct of all of it. It is something to be aware of. You will be notified, and then you'll be told that you need to take, to sign up for a different course.
And if and when that happens, do not try to do that on your own. You have advisors for a reason. Let your advisors help you through that. And, know too that sometimes if it's a course that's required for your major and for some of the minors on campus too, they may allow a low enrollment course to run because it's a requirement. So it really does depend. So make sure that you're relying on your advisors to help you through anything like that.
Yeah, do talk with your advisor before you sign up for another course in particular. Jason, did you?
I was going to say something similar to Dr. Garofoli in just that, make sure you're communicating with your advisor. Also, if it's a major requirement, obviously there's planning that needs to go into, especially if it's sequential. So there needs to be some planning in place of when you are going to take that class if they can't run it. But also thinking about the general education. If you have a class that you're taking for your general education, one of two things can happen. One, in that semester, you take another course that would fulfill that gen ed requirement. Or if you're I was really excited about that class. We do have information that shows typically how often those classes will run. You can plan for the future again, but you just need to make sure that you're doing your planning with your advisor.
Excellent. And this is exactly where I wanted to stop to see if there are any other questions that anyone has. That was a good question. It's always sad for us when a course gets, because usually it's a course we really wanted to teach. So, anything online? Any questions?
I don't see anything. Feel free to to unmute or to type something in the chat, everyone.
So again, I do want to reiterate those 3 steps that I was talking about are very important for your first advising session, especially. Actually, you could use them for every advising session from here on in, but especially this first one. So you get a sense, because the earlier you start doing this, the more choice you're going to have when it comes to what you're going to do for your requirements as you move forward. Okay, so it really does help to talk that through from the very beginning. And don't hesitate to ask your advisor why you have to take this course. And if they don't like it, tell them to come talk to me. But in general, I do want to emphasize, ask them, why do I have to take this? Be nice about it. But do ask, don't hesitate to ask that question. All right, in that case, I think we're all set for today. Thank you to those who are in the audience and those who are online. And thank you to Dr. Garofoli for running the online part of the workshop.
My pleasure. Thank you for your expertise and guidance.
I'm going to hit the record button now.